Hello folks, we're back in business. I'm going to do a little example of how to do trees, but I'm going to make it so that it's part of a little countryside scene. And I've doodled that out with a felt tip. It's just similar to the last one, you've got quite a big tree leading up to some farm buildings, and then some trees that frame the farm buildings there. So I'll see if I can make that into something recognisable. Starting off, we'll start off with the sky, and I don't want the sky to dominate too much, so I'm going to leave it quite a diffused sort of just a blue really. And if we're doing that, we'll wet the paper so that the paint diffuses a bit. So I'm just using the mop brush, filling it with water and just sort of damping that surface. And then through the trees, so I'll paint through the trees, but to keep that nice clean shape of the farm building, I'm just going to paint as if I'm painting. I'm just using the water to go around the edge there. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then down into the field and just check where I am with that. Good. So while that's soaking in, just give it another damp there. I'll just make up a little puddle with the ultramarine blue. Just tilting the board as well. So rather than having it sloped, I've just tilted it so that it's horizontal. So I'm leaving little bits of white, and hopefully, so I've gone a bit stronger there. It gives the impression of like a little wispy, overcast sky. Just make it a touch warmer at the bottom, so I'll just grab tiny bit of crimson with a bit of yellow ochre in it. And then I can just tilt that so that the gravity just pulls it down a little bit. I'm just going to blend that in. So that warm colour, just pushing it into that. I've got a little canal going on in the middle, which I'll see to in a minute. There we go. So that's where the paper's sort of started to swell, and it's left a little runnel there. So with a dry brush, I'm just going to take the excess water that's sort of collected there. That's good. So that's not going to dominate the scene too much, but it's just going to give the impression of a nice bright sky. So then I'm going to grab some yellow ochre. Bit of crimson. It's only a first wash, it's just to give some warmth to this field. So I've added a bit of crimson and a bit of the blue. There we go. Okay, so I just paused for a little bit then while I dried it off because I want to concentrate on the trees now, and it's probably better if the sky's mainly dry before we do that. So I've mixed up Hooker's Green and I've touched into it some burnt sienna. So I'm just going to try and frame the farm buildings with that. So I'll start on this side. So I probably just get a nice clean edge there first, and then so using that stroke again where you let in the brush, just sort of scratch the paper and give the impression of the foliage of the trees there. And just drop some yellow ochre in as well, so alternating the colour a little bit of variation makes it more interesting, really. There we go. So we can just leave that. We're still a bit wet there, so it's diffusing a little bit, and that's gonna help, I think. I think we'll be okay with that. So we're carrying on. We've got some more trees. It's quite wet there. So that was where that little runnel was. Don't want to be too contrived. It looks a little bit fussy there. Just diffuse that a little bit. There we go. And then I'll bring that down before it dries, this side. And imagining, so you've got your building, things around it, little walls, little outhouses and things like that. There we go, that's all right. I'll just suggest there's light catching something there. Good, and then carrying on that side. I'm going to add a bit more burnt sienna, I think. So that's changing the colour to even more of an olive colour. Right, so that'll do for the tree. I'll just sort of take that into the landscape there. Just adding a bit of blue to that there. So if you remember from last time, the bluer they are, faint as well, they'll sort of imagine that they're in the distance there. I can just pull that round. It's going to be covered now, that, with this other tree. That's good. We're winning. So a bit of housekeeping. There's a big puddle there. So with a dry brush, just touch that and soak up that excess there as well. It's not a massive problem, but you could get the cauliflower, which I'm not too fussed about cauliflowers, but sometimes you don't want them. Right, good. I'll just give it a quick blast because I want to put the bigger tree there now. So I'll give it a quick blast with the hairdryer. I'll just pause it while I do this. Right, that side's dry now. So carrying on with the Hooker's Green, I've got a little bit of burnt sienna in still. Same brush. I'm just going to imagine a sort of a tree around here in this field there, and So I think I'm just taking some colour off when I want like the little scuffing dry strokes there. That's a difficult one to say, isn't it? And then when it's fuller, then you can afford to have a bit more paint on the brush. And remembering from last time, we don't want to do too much. We don't want to be too particular or fussy with these things. Just an impression. And taking some colour off. And that'll do it, that. So that's the bulk of the tree. Just shade where it's covering. And then I'm going to go and get darker tone of that. So burnt sienna with the hooker's green, even darker. Bit of blue even, and so that we can see it through the foliage there. So I'm sort of pressing on and then lifting. And that's enough, that I can see that now, that's enough. So stop it, Tony. Don't like that shape there. Good. So just develop that little area of the field a little bit more. So if I grab some of the yellow ochre with a bit of burnt sienna in, then again it's this sort of dry brush, just touching the surface. Bit of blue. And just assessing, keep sitting back and assessing it a little bit. I've got some sort of perspective lines going towards this building, that helps. So just imagining that there's high spots and low spots in that field. Good. Ooh, that's bright, isn't it? Just giving sort of texture there to the field, hopefully, anyway. So it's about varying the marks, really, the type of marks to suggest something, suggest surfaces and shapes and forms. I'm getting a little bit bitty there, so I'm just going to blend that together. And I've added a bit of blue to that side and a bit of the crimson. It is a little bit bitty, that, so just push the colour a little bit together. That's it. That's it, Tony. There we go. So leave that to dry. And then make up a warm grey. So I'm going to start painting the building. So if I start with crimson, touch some yellow ochre into it and a bit of blue, should make a warm grey. It's a bit purpley, that, so put some more yellow in. A bit more yellow. I'm going to leave the roof, and we'll do that later. So that's, I mean, you could do that with burnt umber really, or something similar, just a straight colour on its own, but I want to vary it, so it's a warm grey. I'm just dropping some of the crimson in that corner there. And then at the bottom of it, so wet in wet, just dropping some blue into the bottom of that colour, and it that's it, it'll diffuse a little bit there. So yeah, at the bottom, just dropping blue into it, making it a bit cooler of a grey colour. Just going to just take some colour off there. Good, and then I might go back to, while that's drying, I'm just going to put some more branches and tree trunks at the back. Not too many. Just going to make that darker there. So that's just blue, ultramarine blue on top of that colour. There we go. And then make the grey a bit cooler, so ultramarine. Just give the impression that one of the sides of the building is in shade. Good. Really dark, so that's a lot of blue. dropping that wet in wet. Good, and then I might just put a little bit of sort of intense colour around the base, so maybe there's some machinery or whatever. Yeah, just drop a bit of red there. Some yellow ochre. Bit more blue. Good. So it's just the roof really. And if I get that warm grey colour again, and I want to try and do the dark, as if it's a corrugated roof, so I'm going to splay the brush, just see if I can take the colour off. Just smooth that out so that it's not as obvious. It's good. So with the dark grey colour, just making it as if there's a fence there. Just connect these things together. With the rigger brush, and very, very loose, quick strokes. That'll do for that bit. So what I need to do now, I'm just going to pause for a second again. I've had a lot of pauses in this video, but hopefully it makes it a better one. Just going to think about what I'm going to do. So maybe some plants, some wildflowers, etc. in that area to sort of lead you in, but I'll just have a pause. Okay, so I think I'm trying not to punch anything out in this video because I'm a lover, not a fighter, man. But that's what we need to do. We need to just bring the foreground. So I'm just going to put some yellow ochre there. And just lead that back into the field there. So just more intense colour there. Can even make that into a bit of a grey as well. Good. So that brings that closer to us and leads us in. I think that the only thing now would be to do some individual strokes of grasses and stems and things, but that needs to be dry. So I'll give it a quick Good. So that's nearly dry. So if I make up a cool grey, so blue, crimson, yellow ochre, it's a little bit bitty that, so just go join it together. So rig a brush and a quite a warm grey there. Oops. So I'm just splattering that same colour on there. Good, I think that is finished now. Stop. Lovely, it's quite good that. I think it's come out okay, and hopefully it shows you how to develop from just the tree exercise that we did of how to work it into a picture that looks like somewhere that you've been, or somewhere that's close by. It is near me anyway. Okay, have a go at that and just let me know how you get on.